Hi folks, Frank the Pest Geek here. Well, I'm on the road doing callbacks on issues that my technicians have not been able to solve. These are really difficult, man. These are like almost impossible cases that what most companies are doing is they will send the technician over and over and over until the customer says, listen, you're not solving my problem. I'm going to get somebody else. And this is where, before that even becomes a problem, I intervene. So I was out on the road yesterday doing one. On back. Remember that job where the floor wasn't sealed, around the electrical panel wasn't sealed? There was a million problems in town where they done remodeling. And, well, major improvement. He said he's truly happy. They were catching 10, 12, in a week. Now they're down to they only seen 2 this month, but they're seeing it in one of the rooms, which is an office. And that room this is where all of the cables were put through for all of the security cameras in the house, the data, everything. And they're still seeing in that room. They're not seeing it. They only saw 1 in the kitchen. So we went from 10 to 12 in a month to 1 or 2. And now I got to go find out that room, where is that hole in that room that they're still coming through, that they're finding, because it's not normal to find a roach, an American roach. These are American roaches in an area where it's dry, where there's no water. There has to be an opening somewhere. That's how you know you have an opening there. We got to find out in that area if it's behind the furniture, where it is, seeing if we can find it. And if we can find it, then we can go ahead and seal it, and that's the end of it. This is where, guys, I keep telling you over and over and over again that more chemical isn't going to solve these problems. I've got one that I'm going to go today or tomorrow. We're going to do an exclusion where the entire roof around the house is completely exposed underneath the drip edge. And the customer is saying, I'm finding, all these roaches. My tech says I've sealed, I've done everything I can. I go look at that house, I get inside that attic, I can see light all the way around. I look underneath, I can stick my hand underneath that overhang where that drip edge is in the fascia board. They did a roof. This is an old 1950s shingle roof where they did a flip on this house, and the roofer did a brand new roof that it's just the nastiest roof job I've ever seen in my life. Inside they left everything, and now they're seeing roaches. When I go in there, I see every single inch of that roof is exposed on the inside because, let me put this up here, because it was a stucco with mesh, and they cut that edge out, and of course they got rid of that seal. Water is never going to get in there. Water is never going to get in there. The roofer's absolutely right. Unfortunately, roofers are not pest control people. They don't understand pest biology. They don't understand pest behavior. And their attitude is, well, let me see if I can, man, give me a second. That's much better. They don't understand pest biology, pest behavior. They don't understand all of these issues. And, we're not getting control. We've been on this house for 6 months. Well, the customer didn't complain because they were having so many roaches that we brought it down so much that they're like, but we're still seeing 10 to 12 a month. I said, you shouldn't be seeing 10 to 12 a year if we're done. So they didn't complain. We were just kept doing the service. The tech says, yeah, I'm finding them in the monitors, but not that many. So we never, so 6 months went by, nobody said anything. And when my antennas go up, when we've been at a house for 6 months, and all of a sudden they say there's an explosion, I said, somebody opened something. Well, it's been really dry, really, really dry. And it's so dry that American roaches under extreme conditions find their way in. So it got really, really dry, and all of a sudden, we started getting these spring rains all night. And they are going to scamper and move inside. So I should have gone the other way. There's nothing I can do. Take the 836 across. So when I see these upticks, I said somebody opened something or something is open. Another house that's been under control, and all of a sudden they said we counted 24 roaches in one shot behind the wall. Sure enough, I go in there and says something is open. It's these dry, extreme temperatures that we've been having, where we get these really high temperatures. It's been really, really dry, and roaches make it in. And all of a sudden, I put my camera, my probe camera that I have behind the wall where they're saying all these roaches. I counted like 6 roaches myself plus 3 in the monitors, and they said they counted 24 roaches there. Stick my camera behind. This is a stick-built cabinet. And this stick-built cabinet is original to the home. There is no drywall behind there. There is the block, and there is the back of that backing of the cabinet built up against the wall. It was built in originally into the home. And then everything was plastered because this wasn't a drywall house. And on the other side, they had built this overhang roof that's not original to the house. It was added, and then they coated it with a tongue and groove slat wall. And what happened is the tongues and the grooves are gone from age and termites and damaged it. And now the roaches are simply just making it in. I counted like 12 in that little porch. So I go in there, I put the camera, sure enough, it goes straight to the attic. Well, it's just climbing up the wall, down the back, down the kitchen, and out through all the plumbing. The problem is, we sealed it. The problem is, there's no drywall back there. So even if you sealed it, they're coming out from the top and around the cabinet. So now the solution is, listen, get this caulked, get this sealed. In a week, we're going to come back, and we're going to do it. If the customer hasn't caulked it and hasn't sealed it, because this is a young millennial couple. He's a computer programmer, an IT guy. I know all about that, but he's not very handy. Chances are, I told him there's a bunch of holes that he needed to cover before. Well, it's been over a year now, and he still hasn't covered it. So now I'm going to go write up an estimate. I gave him the chance to go do it. I'm going to write up the estimate. If they don't pay for the repairs that I got to do, and they haven't done it, and they're not listening to me, then I got no choice then but to drop them as a client. Because we can't keep getting callbacks for something that we can't control, that we're never going to control, we're never going to make happen. So, you either go on a monthly basis, pay the price, live with it, understanding that every time it happens, and we're going to come on a monthly basis now, which is going to be with all the stuff they have and the trip and all that, it's about $1,000 a year for us to manage that home, instead of the $89 that we're charging every 2 months. It's going to go up. They're going to be like at $89 every month for us to be able to manage them. So those are the challenges. And I just got another call from a guy. We're not controlling the weeds in one area. We have a weed that just sprouted up on us that we can't get an ID on. Nobody's been able to ID it. I haven't been able to idea it. So we're trying different dosages. So my tech went out last month. This is on a bi-monthly account. It's every 2 months. He said, man, we're not getting control of that weed. I want to come back. If it isn't, check up on it. And sure enough, the guy just called me and said, hey, you guys are coming out today. You just came out last month. He says, yep, we're following up for you. So that is where we shine as a company, where we can't solve everything. We're not going to. But we're on it, and we're on top of it, and we're making sure that it does not get out of hand, that we're managing that exception, and we're making sure that that exception is controlled, because once I get control for these clients, it's done. But it is in that follow-up. This is the third month I'm going out to this house. We've seen the major improvement, but we had to do a ton of sealing in that home to satisfy the client. Why didn't I charge him for the sealing? Because we should have caught it when we did the original estimate. It should have been done by the tech on the initial. It hasn't. It should have been followed up correctly, and it wasn't. And that's on us. Whenever it's on us, then we eat it, because it's only 1% of the time. We're not going to risk a customer telling a customer, now you got to pay us $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 more because we screwed up and we didn't see it. No, we eat it, and we eat it gladly, because this is customer that we're going to make this money in the long term. This customer isn't going anywhere. We know the customers that are going to go, the customers that are going to stay. Intuitively, I already know this. So we don't care. We're going to pay the price, get it done, for all that extra sealing that we had to do. That wasn't caused by us, that was caused by the contractors, which they should be going back after that. But why are we going to convenience the customer? Start a tit for tat problem. Tell the customer you need to go back to the contractor and get him, charge him back for it. And now the customer is in an uncomfortable situation. For what reason? Because we're going to lose a couple $100 on this deal on the initial, when we should have solved it, we should have caught it, we should have known, but we didn't. And it's 1% of the time that it happens, less than 1% that we have these problems. So when they do, we just go ahead, we eat it, we solve the problem for the client. We'll probably get a great review for it. And those are the genuine reviews that we go after, where people write these long reviews, where people see the detail that this isn't, oh, this is a great company, 5-star, and it looks like it's a bot review. So those are the issues, guys, that we're dealing with. That when I'm on the road, we're dealing with some very, very difficult. I'm going to do the ceiling. I sold the other company because that was not something we did. That's something the contractor did on that roof, and completely exposed that house. And there's nothing we're going to be able to do about that. That wasn't like, hey, it's a totally different scenario between a house that we found little holes everywhere. All these contractors did all these things, whether it was the cable guy, whether it was the flooring guy, whether it was the cabinet guy. Everybody did something. And this other guy bought the house like this, and there was no way a tech would have known that on an initial inspection. He wouldn't have caught that. Nobody would have caught that. It's just the fact that I decided to go over there, look at this, and saying, oh, this is the problem. But there's 15 years of pest control experience on exclusion, and then also 20-something years of home improvement and how things should look. There's no way a technician, a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old technician, unless he's seen that kind of flip job and remodeling on that kind of house, on that specific house with that specific roof and that specific stucco, that he would have ever known that. There's no way I can hold that guy responsible for not knowing that. This is where the field service manager has to be super experienced if you're going to be a real field service manager. But when you've done over 10,000 jobs in 15 years, you see a lot of things. And you see more things than the average bear. And You need to, if you're going to hire a service manager to be, your service manager, and you're going to hire a guy to be the technical director, man, there has to be a whole lot of experience there. And this is where experience and expertise matters, because just having 15 years of experience, I see guys, I've been doing pest control for 35 years, and all I ever see them with is a B&G spraying, Demon Max, all over the house. No, you have 35 years of spraying, and you're done. You're not going to get challenged. You're not going to upgrade your skills. You're not going to be modern and learn how to do IPM and learn how to do exclusion. You're 65 years old. You can't get on your knees anymore. You're just happy doing, dollar apartments. And that's not the same as having real experience and having an expertise. And that's the difference. So when you keep doing things over and over the way you did it back in 1974, and you're not going to seal that problem, you're just going to keep telling the customer they got to hire a contractor. And they're not going to. Finding a contractor now in Miami with the labor shortage that there is, finding a handyman that actually is going to do this right is going to be close to impossible. This is the illusion that people are under, that, I had a handyman 10 years ago and he used to do all this. Good luck finding a handyman now. I mean, we just raised our prices 25% on all initials. Why? Because I can read the market. When customers are telling me nobody's answering my calls, nobody's returning calls, nobody's getting back to me, nobody's sending out, they're short of people. Everybody is either still running offices where now they can't find people to work. They can't find people to answer the phone. They can't find salespeople to go out and sell. And they have to work 3 times as hard to find somebody. They're just overbooked and they can't take on any more business. And it's basically supply and demand. So I went ahead and I raised my prices 25% on all my initials. We went from $335 to $455. And guess what? I haven't had any difference in my closing rates. The people that couldn't afford me at $355 couldn't afford me at $255. They weren't going to afford me at $155 because they're still thinking they're going to get a pest control service in Miami in this economy for, $35. Those days are gone. Even for $65, there's still people doing it, but they're not going to make it. Costs are too high. So my customers that are looking for what I'm selling, my niche, they don't want the chemical. They're going to pay it because nobody else can do it. Everybody's still selling spray services, spray and pray, and I'm going in a different direction. So we have to, because we do have a labor shortage, because we are going to be super premium and supply and demand, I can only serve so many clients. Yeah, guess what? My one of my technicians, decided he's going to go do something else. He had a job offer to do something else. I told him to take it. Why? I'm not going to convince the unconvincible that, things have to be done a certain way. His hours got cut a bit, but I told him, we were paying for 40 hours. And I said, listen, I'm paying you for 40 hours. You're working 30-something hours in most cases. I need you to do more things for me for those extra hours I'm paying you, because, I need you to call these customers. I need you to follow up on all these customers that, their service is due, so I don't have to do it, so I can focus on selling new customers. And it's only going to take you maybe an extra 30 minutes to an hour a day, but I'm paying you for those hours. It's not, so that way, we're all getting compensated and I'm getting what I paid for. Well, he decided he wasn't going to do it, that he wasn't making the calls. I mean, that you make the calls. No, I haven't made the calls. You go home and you're done. You clock out, and you're getting paid for 40 hours, guaranteed, and you're not doing the work. When I need you to step up to the plate, whenever we're in hard times, and I'm treating you fairly, I'm not overworking you, and you decide you don't want to do it. So I had to basically say, okay, now I'm going to, for 4 months while things were picking up, we took a really big dump in a lot of areas. We lost government accounts, major accounts. We lost probably $30,000 like that. We had to recover it in lawn and ornamental business because people are freaking out now about the economy and they're dropping big services. These were $600 a month accounts that decided we're just going to take our chances and not beautify the property as pretty as before. So, cut his hours, and he had to go get a part-time job to make up for those hours. You could have just done the work for me, and I would have continued to pay you, and you would have been helping me out. You would have been helping yourself out. Now he says, I'm going to go do something else. This is darn hard. Being in the summer, in the heat, doing what we do is hard work. But some people rather make less, and some people don't want to work as hard. And there's this culture of, I just don't want to work, and I don't want to put in extra hours, and I don't want to work overtime. I want to work 30 hours a week. I want to work 36 hours a week, and I want to make $16 an hour, because what people are calculating is how much they need to take home, not how much more they can have to have a better lifestyle or this. They're just like, hey, this is what I need. I need $500 a week. I need $600 a week. And if I can make $600 a week working 35 hours, that's what I'm going to do. There's a big shift in the marketplace, in mentality of work. Now people can stay home. People can make more money. What is one governor said? Well, if people are making more money staying home, then you should pay them more than they're making to stay home. That's hard to compete with government when you're handing out money that isn't yours, that isn't a business, that has to generate cash, that has to generate cash flow, that had to borrow $15, $20, $30, $100,000 that they have to pay back of PPP if it isn't forgiven, and to keep their employees. See, government doesn't have to balance budgets. They don't. They can just keep adding on and pass a new law and get more money and tax people more, and raise taxes, or they cut programs. They don't have to figure out how they actually generate revenue through production. So you can't find people to work. So I'm going to be on the road now in the next week. We just finished buying a brand new van, which I'm going to build out because we're planning on growing. I mean, we are growing. My GHP business has grown, and I've been talking about dumping the lawn and ornamental business, going nothing more than with general household pests. We're going to add termites. I'm trying to get somebody to sign off on my hours that I can do 45 jobs legally, not just give me the addresses for the homes so I can plug them in, but I actually want to do the work, and do it legally. So finding people that want to do it legally is some people are willing to sign off because they appreciate. They don't see the ethical dilemma for me. They don't have my ethics, although they are people of ethic. They don't cheat the customers. They treat people right. But I can't accept that because I just can't. And one day you point the finger back and say, yeah, but remember when I signed for you and you took, and you open yourself up to an impropriety by accepting it. So I'd rather, hey man, let me do the jobs for you. I'll do the free labor. I'll do what I'm going to do. Sign off on the jobs for me that I actually did them, that I did it right, or at least according to your standards. And we're good. And then we're going to go into termites. So I'm building out a lawn truck that is also a termite vehicle. So it'll handle GHP, termite, and lawn. And so I just finished buying this brand new ProMaster 2500 136-inch wheelbase that we're going to stick 4 reels and 4 tanks in there. People are like, how the heck are you going to do that? Watch. We're going to do a pretty awesome truck that I'm going to build out to do this, be more compact, and it's larger. It's about twice the capacity. We were doing lawn and ornamental on it out of a Nissan NV200. People say it can't be done. We're doing it. Now we're growing. We want to be able to do larger properties, commercials, just a little bit more efficiency. But I wasn't going to spend $90,000 on a lawn truck because it wouldn't have met our needs. Where the heck are we going to park it? It's always a pain in the butt. It's a lot of money. I figured I can do it with a $40,000 truck and a $10,000 build out, and which will produce for us probably over $1 million of business once we get termite going. And so it'll be a combination of termite and lawn, because we could show up to a property, do the trenching, do what we have to do with the same truck, but have a different tank for it. So look forward to showing you that one. That we're going to show you how we're going to build this thing out. It's going to be pretty neat. It's going to be a custom build. I'm going to have it built locally. 4 tanks, 4 actual spray tanks, 4 reels, room for 4 backpacks, mister, chemical, and all the tools that we're going to need to do this. And then I'm taking my old NV200 van, and we're going to set it up for exclusion, to do exclusion services, carry all the materials, all the tools, everything that we need for exclusion in an NV200 van, because that one's paid for. Still, it's got 100,000. I can probably get 50, 80,000 miles out of it easily. So we're going to rotate that one for exclusion and grow that and see if that. So before I invest any money into that area, we're going to see if we can grow that to maybe $50,000 a year worth of exclusion. And I can hire a part-time guy on the weekends or in the evenings to do exclusion work. I can hire a handyman that's already doing handiwork, but work for me part-time because there's no chemical involved, nothing. So there's no chemical application. I don't need to have them trained in chemical control. I can just put them to 40 hours of training with myself, the basic 40 hours, give them an ID so that everything is good. But in reality, he's not dealing with pests. He's not dealing with animals. He's not discussing that. He's going into seal repair. That's it. So we're looking at that. I'm stuck in traffic. Well, this is why I don't get out of the house before 9 o'clock in the morning. It is 9:21, and the enormous amount of traffic that I'm involved in right now. We usually start at 9, and we're at our first stop by 10. It takes us sometimes 40, 45 minutes, an hour to get to our first stop in the morning. Sometimes when we start at 10 in the morning, we can be there by 10:20 and save all that labor, but it is what it is. You never know what you're going to deal one day to the next. We're doing long distances still. I'm trying to focus this year and focus more and more and more on route density. And so now we're starting to grow again. Now we're starting to take on more business. Hired Eric, my guy, my buddy, to do full-time video production. So we're producing daily content across 7 social media platforms for both Nature Pest and Pest Geek Podcast. And now we're going to start running ads on Facebook. We're going to look at YouTube ads that we're running in specific areas that we're going to be running those ads in. We're going to be doing video content versus regular ads. Video ads convert better. So we're going to be doing anywhere between 1 to 6 minute ads, videos, which I got to record a lot of content for over the weekend. I'm going to do that and record a couple of commercials but it's about how we actually do. Everything we do is educational. So we're going to be educating our client on how we perform pest control, and how we do it and what's our unique selling proposition, why we're different than our competition, why a holistic approach is better, which is nothing more than integrated pest management. And this is, they're still growing, believe it or not, and we're more efficient. I'm actually getting more done with less. I'm going to go on the road. I can get it done in 3 days a week right now, that entire route, and that'll produce $100,000 a year on 3 days a week, which is fine. Um, the L&O has dropped. I lost about half of my L&O in the last year because of COVID. So that's why I decided to expand into termite, and I've been talking about it for a long while. Those of you that have been following me, that I want to give up lawn. Lawn is no longer, the reason I want to give up lawn is not because there's no money in it. There's great money in it. It's been our money maker. That's been my bread and butter since until 2015. From 2009, that was my exclusively 95% of our income. But it's not in line with vision and mission. People want beautiful golf course lawns, what we charge a fortune for. But it's chemical intense. We reduced the amount of chemical by 66% compared to our competition, but it's still not in line with vision. It isn't good enough for me. I want to get it down to maybe, 80% and reduce that chemical to where we only have to apply it on IPM when there's a problem. The problem is it's weeds and diseases, and it's usually caused by something we can't control in the landscape. And we get those accounts. And so now what we've been doing is we've been switching over to natural 25B with micros and bios, which we've been using forever for plants and lawns. But we're going to be focusing on lawns now and doing this and only applying a fungicide and an herbicide when it needs it. And we're going to see if we can actually get away with this in Miami, doing nothing more than bios, micros. Yeah, we got a lot of traffic here. Traffic is... Notice I'm not paying any attention to the camera because I'm looking at traffic and everything that's going on. But it doesn't matter. If I was in this vehicle, I'd be talking to myself. So I might as well be talking to a camera, because I can talk and do at the same time. Because I can talk, I can get a conversation out of a 2x4 in the wall. The house talks to me. So this is why we're getting out of L&O. So this is why I'm making a multi-use fan that we can show up to a house, do GHP, lawn, and termite. And as that business grows in the next 4 to 5 years, we can easily build another truck out for GHP if we had to, and take the GHP off that route. But for the time being, we have to be efficient. So if my tech's going to be there, I'm going to be there. If all of a sudden I get a call back, we can respond to a callback or a problem with the house very easily. Because most of the issues we're going to solve in a house, we solve with a backpack. I don't know if you've seen my video on the backpack that I have, but with that backpack, we control ants, roaches, and silverfish inside a house, which is 99% of all the indoor pest problems we have here. We can solve it with nothing more than a small backpack.